You are sitting in a chair that does not belong to you. The room smells like recycled air and old coffee. Someone has placed a manila folder on the table. It contains your name, your education, your grandmother's maiden name, and a psychological profile that is more accurate than anything you have ever written about yourself. You have not touched it yet. You are waiting. That is the first thing they teach you, though no one has taught you anything yet. Waiting, watching, measuring the distance between what a person shows and what they are. The folder stays closed. A man enters. He does not introduce himself. He sits across from you, folds his hands and says something that catches you off guard. Not because it is threatening, because it is ordinary. He asks if you slept well. You did not. You say you did. He nods. He already knew that. You have just passed your first test without knowing a test was happening. This is level 1. This is recruitment. This is the bureaucracy of a human life being acquired. You filled out 17 forms to get here. Background checks that reached into your college roommate's arrest record from 2009. Financial disclosures that required you to account for a $200 gap in your checking account from 3 years ago. You explained it. A birthday gift. Cash. They accepted that. What they were actually measuring was not the $200. They were measuring how you handle the sensation of being inspected. Whether you flinch, whether you over-explain. You over-explained slightly. They noted it. They hired you anyway because over-explaining is preferable to silence in a recruit. Silence means you are hiding something you have rehearsed. Over-explaining means you are nervous, and nervous is manageable. Nervous can be trained out of a person. The man across from you slides a single sheet across the table. Not the folder, just one sheet. It has a line at the bottom. You pick up the pen, it is a cheap pen. The kind you find in a hotel room. The kind you throw away after. You sign your name. You put the pen down. You think you feel something significant. You do not. You feel like you just signed up for a gym membership. That feeling of anticlimax is intentional. They want your threshold for significance to be recalibrated. You are now employed by an organization that does not appear on your tax documents under its real name. You take the metro home, you buy milk. The city looks the same. It will always look the same from now on, and that sameness will become the most disorienting thing in your life. Level 2 begins without announcement. It begins on a Tuesday, the way all genuinely terrible things begin. On a Tuesday in a beige conference room with fluorescent lights that flicker once every 4 minutes. You counted. Counting is something you do now. You count exits. You count people. You count the number of times someone in a meeting uses a filler word, because filler words indicate discomfort, and discomfort indicates pressure, and pressure tells you where the load-bearing walls of a person are. You are in training. Officially, this is called a professional development program. You are learning surveillance architecture, behavioral assessment, asset development, and something the instructor refers to, without irony, as relationship management. Relationship management, as if cultivating a foreign national into a source of classified intelligence is equivalent to maintaining a LinkedIn connection. The clinical language is not accidental, it is a tool. When you name a thing clinically, you remove the weight of it. When you remove the weight, you can carry more of it. You are being taught to carry enormous amounts of weight without bending. Your instructor is a woman in her late 50s. She has a coffee mug that says something funny. She has never explained the joke. She has a way of describing human vulnerability that sounds like a logistics briefing. She says things like, every person has a total addressable market of need. She means that every person you will ever run as an asset has a set of emotional and material requirements that, if met, will purchase their cooperation. She is not wrong. You know she is not wrong because you have spent 3 weeks observing targets in a controlled environment, watching how they respond to the appearance of friendship, validation, financial pressure, and the careful application of what she calls controlled scarcity. What she means is, you take something away. Just slightly. You create a small and persistent absence. The target moves toward you to fill the absence. You have done this to a man who reminded you, briefly, of your uncle. You noted the resemblance. You noted that it did not stop you. You filed that observation away in a part of yourself that is becoming harder to access. The cost of level 2 is the first installment. It is small. You barely feel it. That is the point. Level 3 is your first posting. The city has a beautiful old quarter and a river that smells like industry. You have a cover identity. On paper, you are a commercial attaché for a trade consultancy. You have business cards. You attend networking events and drink warm wine and discuss supply chain optimization with men who are also not what their business cards say. You develop sources. This is the word sources. Not friends, not people, sources. You meet a civil servant named, you have been told not to use names even in your own internal narration, so you do not use names, not anymore, even in memory. You meet a civil servant who has access to procurement schedules for a defense ministry. He's proud of his work. He thinks he is helping international business development. He is not. You are meeting him every 3 weeks in a cafe near the river. You bring him small gifts, a book you discussed, a bottle of wine from a region he mentioned once, months ago. You remember everything. You are paid, in part, to remember everything. He begins to trust you, not because you are trustworthy, because you have engineered the conditions under which trust grows, the way a gardener engineers soil. You water this garden. You report its yield. You do not feel guilty. You feel professional. The guilt has a longer latency period than anyone warned you about. Your apartment has 3 rooms and a window that looks onto a courtyard. You water a plant on the windowsill. You make coffee at 6:15 every morning. You have developed routines not because you enjoy them, but because routines make you legible to the neighborhood. A predictable person is a boring person. A boring person is not a threat. You are the most boring person on this street. The old woman across the courtyard waves at you sometimes. You wave back. You have already noted the pattern of her comings and goings, not because she is a target, but because noting patterns is now the default setting of your nervous system. You cannot turn it off over coffee. You cannot turn it off at the market. You stand in the vegetable aisle and unconsciously rank the other shoppers by behavioral tells. The man with the loose shoe is distracted. The woman checking her phone twice in 30 seconds is waiting for a specific message. None of this matters. You know none of this matters. You do it anyway. Your mind has been restructured. You did not notice the renovation while it was happening. You only see it now. I in the vegetable aisle holding a tomato, realizing you cannot simply want a tomato. You can only assess one. Level 4 is the level where the word corrupt first becomes useful. Not in the way the word is usually used. Not embezzlement. Not bribery. Not the cartoonish corruption of a man in a backroom counting cash. This corruption is quieter. It lives in the gap between what you were sent to do and what you are now doing to make it easier, faster, less visible. You have begun making decisions that are not in the official directive. Small ones. You have paid a source with funds that required creative documentation. You have shared intelligence with a local partner agency that was not on the cleared list because it was faster and the window was closing. You have written a report in which you omitted a detail that would have complicated the picture but would not have changed the outcome. You tell yourself this. The outcome was the same. The omission was operational efficiency. You believe this. You believe it the way people believe things that are convenient to believe. Your handler in Langley approves your results. He does not ask about the methodology. You do not volunteer it. This is the compact. This is the silent agreement that runs beneath every successful operation. Results are the language. Methods are the dialect no one wants translated. You are 34 years old. You feel 50, not physically. Your body is maintained with the discipline of someone who understands it as infrastructure, but the weight behind your eyes has compounded. You have a number for it now, not a word. Just a number. It is the number of times you have looked at a person and seen a variable before you saw a human being. You do not know when that number passed from acceptable to permanent. You suspect it was sometime in the 2nd year of the posting, maybe the 3rd. There was a specific evening, a dinner, a table of 8, and a colleague's wife asked you what you did for fun, and you realized you could not answer. Not because the cover was operational, because you did not know. You used to know. You used to have a list. Music, running, cooking on Sundays. The list had migrated to a part of your memory marked inactive. You gave her an answer. It was plausible. She seemed satisfied. You excused yourself and stood in a tiled bathroom under a single overhead light and looked at your face for a long time. Not with distress, with curiosity. Wondering who was doing the looking. Level 5 is the level that does not appear in any training document. They know it exists. They account for it statistically. It is the level at which you're asked to do something that requires you to spend a portion of your remaining moral infrastructure. Not all of it. Just a portion. The request comes through proper channels. It is formatted correctly. It uses the standard language. The objective is described in terms of national security and threat mitigation, and a set of consequences that are, according to the briefing, both credible and imminent. You have seen enough fabricated credibility to know the difference. You believe this one. That is the worst part. You believe the threat is real. You believe the outcome matters. And so you cross the line that, before this moment, existed as a theoretical boundary in a training document, and after this moment exists as a fact about your biography. The thing that was done by you. It will remain true forever. The debrief is thorough. The psychological support offered is perfunctory. You decline it, which they note and they accept, because agents who decline support are often more stable than those who take it. You go home. You make coffee. You stand at the window. The old woman is not in the courtyard today. You water the plant. You think about something else. You get very good at thinking about something else. What they do not tell you in level 5 is that the crossing is not a single event. It is a reclassification. Once you have done the thing, you are in a different category of person. Not worse, necessarily. Not a villain in the way that word is used by people who have never been inside a decision that had no good options. Just different. You have been reclassified, and the bureaucracy of your new category is efficient. The next request comes sooner. The ask is calibrated to your demonstrated tolerance. This is how it works. You know how it works because you have run this calibration on assets. You have been the one slowly expanding the ask. Now someone is doing it to you, and the precision of the method is almost impressive. You can see it happening. You proceed anyway, because the alternative is to stop. And stopping means a conversation with people who know every error in your documentation, every creative accounting entry, every omission in every report. Stopping is not an option that costs nothing. It costs everything. So you continue. You are now, by any functional definition, an instrument of a system that operates outside the law it claims to serve. You are fully deployed. Level 6 is operational permanence. You have been reassigned. New city. Different architecture, same recycled air. You have a new cover, a new apartment, a new set of routines. The plant did not survive the move. You do not replace it. You no longer require the performance of normalcy in your private space. You are, in private, only what you are now. The old architecture of the self, the version with music and Sunday cooking and genuine laughter at something unexpected, that version has become a behavioral memory. You can deploy it. You do deploy it. At dinners, at briefings, at the rare social event where warmth is operationally useful. But it is deployed. It is not felt. And the distinction used to bother you, it does not anymore. This is the cost reveal of level 6. The thing you have lost is not your morality, exactly. It is the sensation of having one. The compass still works. You can still point it toward the concept of right. You simply no longer feel the magnetic pull. You navigate by logic now, by consequence, by the calculus of outcomes. This is, you have been told by no one but have concluded independently, exactly what a good field officer looks like from the outside. From the inside, it looks like a very clean, very empty room. Your colleagues respect you. Some of them are afraid of you, slightly, in the way people are slightly afraid of someone who does not seem to need anything from them. Needing nothing from people is a form of power. You discovered this early. You have refined it. A man at a station in a coastal city once described you as impossible to read, and he meant it as a compliment, and you accepted it as one, because readability is a liability, and you are, professionally, an unreadable document. You have one contact, not quite a friend, but the closest available approximation, who has been in the organization as long as you have. He says something that catches you off guard. One evening, over something neither of you is tasting. He says, I used to dream about my parents. Now I dream about filing deadlines. He says it without irony. You nod. You understand. You have not dreamed about anything personal in 2 years. Your unconscious has been co-opted. Even sleep is a debrief. Level 7 is not a promotion. It is not a demotion. It is a reclassification of a different kind. You are senior. You run people now. Psych, you sit on the other side of the table and the folder is open in front of you and someone's grandmother's maiden name is in there and you are measuring whether the person across from you flinches. They flinch slightly. You note it. You decide it is manageable. You are building a version of what was built in you. You understand the architecture from the inside now. And that understanding makes you efficient and makes you, in certain lights, monstrous. You do not use that word. You use the word experienced. You use the word effective. The organization uses the word asset, which is what you have always been, from the first moment you signed your name with a hotel pen, and what you are now, in the fullest and most permanent sense of the word. The person across from you closes the folder. They have not been told to close it. And they did it instinctively, a small act of self-protection, an attempt to slow the inspection. You notice this. You note that it is a good sign. People who protect themselves instinctively are easier to work with than people who don't know they need protection. You say something ordinary. You ask if they slept well. They say, yes, they did not. You nod. You already knew that. The room smells like recycled air and old coffee. The light flickers once. You have stopped counting.